Welcome back, everybody, to Rimworld, sort of. It's going to be a brief discussion video today on two series ideas I've got sort of prepared here for a micro-series before we dive into the next big series like we just did with Assimilation. Before I dive into the two ideas I prepared for you here today, thank you to all of the comments on yesterday's episode. The reception to that was actually really, really good. As with any series ending, it's always a lot of pressure to make sure that I do essentially the 50 episodes in that one series, 50 episodes of that series justice in a single episode. It's very, very difficult to pull off, and I think a lot of people were quite happy with it. A lot of you guys were happy with the length of the series as well overall. So hey, that's the important thing. I thought it went on for too long. You guys were happy with it. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So I'm happy with it too. So I've got a couple of, like I said, very short ideas. I want to try out a short series just for a brief change here, to test out a couple of ideas I've got, really, for some series, one of which was recommended to me by a friend today regarding a certain mod that I briefly mentioned but never really looked at. The other one is a bit more mechanically complicated and should provide a nice break from the mechanically complicated but quite small in scope, the actual size of the mod pack, so it should be a nice departure from the previous series. So let's dive straight into it with idea number one, and if you don't recognize the things on your screen right now, it's the Alien versus Predator mod. So I was talking to a friend over Discord today, my good friend Josh, actually, who has appeared briefly on the channel on 1-2 occasions, who said to me that the Alien versus Predator mod for Rimworld is actually very fleshed out and actually really, really fun. And after trying it today for a little bit, sort of messing around in dev mode, observing some different scenarios, setting up some various things, it is actually a very well-made mod, much more fleshed out than I realized. So I thought this would be quite a fun idea for a short series. So obviously you can see all the various different categories here. I'm just going to read it verbatim, but the predominantly featured mod I'd like to see for this series, Alien vs. Predator, obviously being the important one there, that's sort of been a key feature. Combat Extended, now this one I was looking at, but the current support for the Alien vs. Predator mod with Combat Extended is very out of date. As in, it doesn't work, it's that out of date. Now, Combat Extended and Alien vs. Predator mod, from what I've done in testing today, isn't too bad. The aliens in particular still work quite well. They die quite easily, but that's sort of how they're represented in the films, obviously, particularly in Aliens, for example. But the aliens aren't trying to kill you, they're trying to capture you so that you can be a host for another alien. So it doesn't really matter that they don't really work. The things that don't work with the mod, with Combat Extended, if we do choose to go down that route, are the Marines and the Predators themselves. Now, I personally, if we do follow this idea, unless I can find a good patch for it, will not be playing with Combat Extended. Would just be going for Alien vs. Predator. The goal, as it says, kill an alien queen, build a spaceship, leave the planet. I would like to try out Save Our Ship 2, if we can fit that into the series in a natural way. I thought that'd be quite a nice little thing to throw along there as well. But I want it to be a very difficult series. So we would start with 3 Unblooded Predators I've written there, and Unblooded Predator being a very sort of basic, relatively low-skill Predator. We don't want to start with extremely powerful pawns or anything like that, or extremely powerful characters, so I'd like to keep those guys fairly low scope. We will play on the highest difficulty possible, so I've written here Merciless Difficulty Randy. It is meant to be a short series. If we die, we can always give it another go, and that's maybe where Save Our Ship could play into things. We have, say, a mothership in orbit. If our 3 Predators die, we send another 3 Predators down, or something like that. Now, one thing I'd like to try out with this, too, a lot of people on the previous, on the last episode of the Assimilator series, on the series finale, commented they'd like to see more offensive series where we are going out and doing more raids and things like that. So I figured one thing we could do with this is also add in the Rim Cities mod and use that as our primary way of getting resources. Send these Predators into the cities to go and steal things, gather resources with their camouflage, which might be in the mod. I'm not actually too sure. I didn't really mess around with the aliens, I'll be honest, but there is a lot of potential, I think, in this series. I think it could be quite fun to... Another idea I had was to start with all of the research available to us, because, of course, Predator's supposed to be technologically advanced. It would make a lot of sense if we had access to everything off the get-go, but no resources to build anything with it. So, sort of flipping the traditional Rimworld idea on its head. So that's an idea for, again, a very short series that I'd like to see, just sort of exploring that mod as something we've never done before. Maybe even throwing in some Save Our Ship compatibility with some weird little city raids as well to add some interest. But it's not just Alien vs. Predator. Like I said, there are Marine factions. There are a lot of unique events added by it. There are some other dangers that I don't really want to go into. I don't want to spoil too much about this for those of you like me who might not have played this mod yet. The second idea is the much more mechanically focused mod. That one being wave-based survival meets combat extended. Now, I was a lot more apprehensive about this one, being that we've just done wave-based survival, but then I sort of thought about it, and that we didn't really do much wave-based survival in that we did wave-based victory. It was a wave, they turned up, the Rim Atomics turrets ripped them to bits, our cybernetics weapons ripped them to bits. We were never really threatened. The only time characters died in the Assimilation series was when I did something stupid, or at the very start of the series where the threats were much more significant. I want to flip that on its head and actually make it so that we are constantly at threat, like it's a constant fight for survival. So not only will we be playing with humans this time, which of course adds all sorts of things like having to consider food, mood, bedrooms, etc., shifts, because of course androids were awake consistently, humans do have to sleep, unfortunately. Speaking of which, it is 3 a.m., so I'm going to try and keep this video pretty short. This one would just be, again, a short series because it would be almost kind of similar to the Jump series in that it's just survival. Trying to see how long we can last, maybe see what wave we can get it to or something like that, focusing just on the combat side of things. Now, there's no reason why combat extended and wave-based survival won't work together, as far as I can think of. I haven't actually tested this because, as far as I'm concerned, it should just be raids, right, with the combat extended mechanics thrown on top. Now, there is also combat extended fast track, which I've not played yet, which is a new variant. It's a branch of the GitHub version of combat extended, which adds a few new features and actually changes certain things while adds some compatibilities with other mods, so it would allow us to check out some other things that fit in nicely with combat extended but don't break the game balance, like what we found with the Assimilation series. Now, as I've written, the difficulty will be the merciless wave-based survival storyteller as we play with Assimilation, but this time it would be a lot more threatening. I want to go for a lot of not low-tech mods. When I've written low-tech mods there, what I actually mean is sticking to the regular sort of end-game Rimworld tech level being our maximum. So, of course, the most powerful gun you can really get in base game Rimworld is, what, like a charge rifle? I want to stick to that level. So nothing like glitter tech, cybernetic weaponry, expanded prosthetics and bionics mods. Nothing like that. Nothing that's super crazy and it fleshes out the end game. I want the end game to just remain Rimworld's end game, because another thing I found while we were playing the Android series, you know, there's a lot of very basic things about Rimworld that I've forgotten, and this series was going to act as a way for me to sort of refamiliarize myself with some of those features, like, oh, I don't know, can I reinstall this deep drill, which was a stupid question. So the other thing as well I've added there is the combat extended management systems adds to the difficulty too. You have to consider your bulk, your weight, armor penetration with weapons as well. You have to constantly be crafting ammo. That in itself is going to add a crazy amount of difficulty on top of an already difficult wave-based survival mod, which is balanced for the base game. So we're taking the base game, making it harder, and then throwing all this extra stuff on top too. So that could be, as the Shutterstock nice montage of that man there suggest, that could be a very short series because I might just give up in a sort of frantic rage. So that is that sort of series B, the heavy mechanics one versus the more themed mod, it being being idea A, of course, Alien versus Predator, which I've never really tried out before, hopefully with some save our strip compatibility. Now, I'm not going to put this down to a vote, simply because if I put it down to a vote and half of you want Alien versus Predator and half of you want idea B, it's going to make my life very, very difficult. So I'm gonna open it up to a discussion, really, in the comment section. I like having the community involved in these things. It's been a long time since we've really done a good talk about what we should have with the Rimworld series. I kind of took the reins on the dinosaur one and the Assimilation one, which I think the Assimilation one definitely worked out very well, but I want to hear what you guys think for a change, and again, especially as it's only a short series anyway, I want it to be a short series that you guys want to watch. So let's have a talk and sort of see what we can come up with. Now, some other ideas that I saw as well that I want to mention very briefly. People were asking for like a pirate style series, because there was recently a really cool pirate ship looking mod where you could actually sail ships, maybe similar to how you sail drop pods, or at least move drop pods around the map. You crew a ship, you move around, you raid maybe even cities. That could be a nice way to incorporate cities. The only reason I haven't actually put this one up on the screen is because I've not actually played the pirate mod. I've done some pretty significant testing with the Alien vs Predator one in terms of mechanics, making sure it's stable, testing out with a bunch of other mods, whereas of course we already know how combat extended wave-based survival works. So the pirate mod I haven't really tested out too much. I don't want to commit to a series that might break with a lot of things. It might not be super stable or anything like that. I need to do some more research. But if there is enough interest in a series like that, I'm more than happy to get it together. There just might be a day of delay while I obviously put all the mod pack together. After that, in the long term though, for our next big long series like the Assimilator, I would like to do a medieval wave-based survival one where we build a sort of massive castle. We could throw in some fantasy elements too, you know, we could do like a proper Helm's Deep orc versus us, where we are obviously helms deep in that scenario trying to fight for our lives. We just have waves of incoming enemies, things like that. There could be some cool things we throw into that too. Rim of Magic obviously being an obvious little addition there that would fit nicely into a fantasy realm. There's a lot we could do with that. But again, that one's going to take a lot of planning. It's going to be a very complicated mod pack, so I want to take my time with that one to make sure that we're removing the technology, focusing on that medieval one, keeping it nicely themed. So, again, let me know what you think. Let me know if you've got any additional ideas that I haven't really talked about, or say there was a comment I missed on yesterday's episode. We will be back to this short series I did, depending on your feedback, should in theory be starting, if you're watching this video on the day it was released, tomorrow. So that we can go, obviously, straight in with this with this little one there, just to tie this over until that big one, so I can work on the mod pack while we also play along with the short series. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thank you again for all your support on the Assimilator series. That was one of our best series yet. Not quite as good as Jump. I think Jump is going to be very, very difficult to top. I actually did a Patreon post yesterday with our top videos of last year, and Jilp was #1 on the channel for 2019, so shout out to Jilp, and that's maybe kind of why I want to go back to the idea of B a little bit, to see if people are interested in that type of thing. You know, Jilp, but harder and more combat focused, he says with a tear in his eye. See you guys all there.